steer in. No. So I just turned out of the line.
Oh.
I don't back out.
I didn't know how. I don't know how deep you were.
What about either of you been to
Chick-fil-A?
Chick-fil-A?
No. No, I've seen it multiple times. It's been
You've
packed
never
every
been to
single time.
Chick-fil-A? I have.
How is it?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
See, the big difference between like a McChicken and
That's what we're comparing it to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, because McDonald's is like what?
It's kind of a
one
low
or
bar,
two
I feel
in
like.
fast food.
Oh,
So,
okay.
and then Chick-fil-A's 3. Like the density of the chicken is much better. Chick-fil-A. Big density guy.
Big density guy.
Big
Okay,
density
good
guy.
to know.
All right. We want to do this?
Mass divide by volume. Is
after-
that density?
After we've been gone for so long?
That sounds right. The little heart. Mass divided by volume. Is that density? I think
I
so.
don't know. I haven't been doing this for a long time. Math's or science is way in the past.
Get woke.
All right. Welcome back. It's been a long time. A couple weeks now. This is the locker room.
Has been a long time. Welcome back. Yeah. Happy New Year. Happy new set.
Happy new set. I'm your host, Justin Reed, alongside Andrew Tenney. And yeah, we have this cool new set with some mic arms. We look pretty professional.
Yeah, we do look pretty good, don't we?
I mean, it kind of hides what's going on here, which is probably a good thing. You know, there's a little bit more going on, so like it distracts from our faces, which is probably good.
I was going to say our faces are still intact, so I wasn't sure what you were referring to being covered up as being a good thing. But
I think you're wrong. I think we're going to just jump right into the fact that you're always wrong. I'm always right.
right.
That's the way it
Yes,
goes.
we will circle back to that later. But
We will.
things have changed. Things are new. It's a new year. Same
Same stuff going on.
same stuff going on.
Life is life.
But you know it's also the same.
What?
Our awesome presenting sponsor, which is
Lucky Bird.
yeah, it is.
I missed him. I missed him a lot, actually.
And just in case you guys got a little too faded over the holidays and you didn't quite remember what or who Lucky Bird is, let me tell you that we're not only sponsored by them, but we want you to know that they're a Spokane-based e-commerce and digital marketing company dedicated to helping local companies scale in the online world of e-commerce and digital marketing. Visit luckybirdbrands.com to have a down-to-earth, no-pressure conversation about your digital marketing and e-commerce strategies today or yesterday. Yesterday would actually be better.
One of these times you'll actually like put that on like a note or like print it off, but like you consistently read off of an email
Of the
that's
email
multiple
from-
months old.
Yeah.
That is like, hey, read this, and you're like, all right, well, I'll go back to this email 4 months ago. That's the one.
Actually, next time I just want to close my eyes because I'm pretty sure it's inscribed on the backs of my eyelids at this point.
I was gonna say, I was like, you've read it so many times.
I think
now.
I think I could do it freestyle.
Oh, I forgot we're live. I should probably share this.
Ah.
I want people to realize that hey, we're back doing this. I have some friends who are expecting some words to be thrown out,
Okay.
so I should probably get on that.
Let's
How
throw
about
words.
this? How about we discuss while I do this? The Seattle Kraken finally have their expansion draft date set, July 21st. They're 7 months away, little over 7 months from having their like an actual team. Like, I'm pumped.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
really
pretty
like
cool.
the NHL, but
So does that mean that they're going to play for the 21-22 season?
Yeah,
So like in the fall they'll start
yeah.
after the draft?
Yeah,
Okay.
they'd start after the draft. The other cool thing is the arena should be ready by then. They're one of two practice facilities, or actually, so they have one practice facility. They're going to have two ice rinks, I guess.
Ooh.
One of them will be ready by the start of the season. The other one won't.
Okay. Very cool. Big things happening for Seattle sports.
Big things happening. That's going to be very exciting. The other big thing that's happening this week is the college football final. It's been a crazy college football season.
Yeah.
Ohio State barely even made it to the college football playoffs. But that final is happening on Monday on ESPN at 5 p.m. And the Alabama Crimson Tide versus the Ohio State Buckeyes will end with an Alabama win.
Yeah, probably. I think I just saw this morning since 1998, it'll be the third matchup in a national championship between the SEC and the Big Ten. And of course, Ohio State was involved in the previous two and got beat by both LSU and Florida. So yeah, this is Alabama's turn, I think, to beat Ohio State and SEC Big Ten head-to-head. But I kind of like that Ohio State's in there throwing a monkey wrench into what we always assume will be Clemson and Alabama. So
Recently, for sure, yeah.
giving us a little variety.
The other big thing, too, is Ohio State's coming off a pretty solid win over Clemson after Dabo Swinney placed Ohio State, like 10th or 11th in this final poll?
Okay, Dabo has been such a sore winner for the
He has
past
been.
3-4 years now. This was nothing but poetry.
But I do appreciate the intensity and the confidence that he exudes. Because
Okay.
that's what Nick Saban does. Nick Saban is the stereotypical winning coach. Like, you want to play for Nick Saban because he wins. I think the same thing can be said about Dabo Swinney.
You know what? I was listening to a podcast today. You know something that Nick Saban doesn't get credited enough for is the fact that, okay, he's an old coach. He's old school by a lot of senses. He's a hard-ass, no-nonsense guy. However, he, unlike other typical, elderly coaches, a la Pete Carroll, he adapts. He retools his style of play, his style of defense, the athletes that he recruits based on a loss that had happened in the previous season that an offense was able to do to him. And so he, is recruiting guys with different body types or that are faster or this. I mean, they have, redefined themselves multiple times under, his tenure. And I feel like people don't talk about that enough. I thought it was a good point.
No, I think that's fair. I think that's a solid take. I won't disagree with you there. I think Carroll, while he adapts, I think his play style / his attitude as head coach, I think is very welcoming to play for. And so I think that's where, Carroll came from winning for sure, but you play for the Seahawks both to win and to have fun. Like Cassius Marsh is the guy I always go back to when he left Seattle and played for the Patriots. Like he said, this sucks. The Patriot way is terrible. And they win, obviously. The Patriots win, and he would rather have played for the Seahawks, who, at that time were kind of on the downturn because of the fact that they lost the Legion of Boom. But, yeah, I think Saban and Dabo Swinney are very similar, different generations of coaching, but both their confidence levels are very similar.
Well, yeah, I mean, Dabo got into TikTok, so obviously his confidence is unrivaled.
Exactly.
However, okay, field goals?
Yes.
So I didn't read the article. However, the headline on the tweet about the article that I saw was Pete Carroll should be coach of the year, and that's why I didn't read the article. Just wanted to throw that out there.
He could have been with a better record, I think.
I mean, maybe after the first 6 weeks of the season, not the last 17.
I think Pete Carroll Coach of the Year discussions happened better the last few years. You know what should happen, and that has never happened, is John Schneider winning Executive of the Year.
That's correct. That is fair.
The fact that hasn't happened
in
the now almost 11 years that he's been general manager of the Seattle Seahawks is asinine.
That is absolutely fair.
And it's very frustrating because I think, you see, and let's talk about this real quick since we brought up John Schneider. There's a lot of rumors saying there's connecting him to Detroit for their new GM opening job. And the reason why that he can be interviewed for that position is because he isn't the highest point of the Seattle Seahawks personnel department. That's actually Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll has the final say on who comes and who goes. So he can actually be interviewed. But John Schneider was interviewed on Monday saying, this happens every year. There's always rumors spewing around. I love Seattle. And I don't see him going anywhere.
No, I don't either. And, of course, if he were to be entertaining it, obviously he'd probably come out with a statement that throws us off the scent, right?
Yeah,
he wouldn't come out and be transparent about it. Exactly. Yeah. But the things that he said and the reasons that he cited about family, them being established and loving their home in Seattle, things of that nature, and why I just don't see him. Obviously, he's an incredibly intelligent guy. I don't think he would leave Seattle and the organization and what they've had there with he and Pete at the helm of that franchise for Detroit. I just don't see it. I also hope it doesn't happen either.
I definitely agree. All right, just a reminder, since we are live right now, take if you have any questions, any comments about the show, message us I guess you can message us, comment on the live show right now, and we can go over anything you would like to discuss because we want to get you guys involved. It's fun. It's nice having people comment. Makes us know that you care.
That's right.
Right? We'll bring a nice somber
We like knowing that we're cared.
We always love to be cared for. All right. Let's switch it up completely. Zags. Zags are fun. Zags are the most fun team in college basketball and probably the most fun college basketball team to watch over the past few years.
Yeah, especially considering that there hasn't been a dominant, I always use the 2009 Tar Heels as an example, like the Hansborough teams as, they would actually go the whole season without losing any games. It feels like that again, and it has been nothing but parity in the college basketball landscape for the past, I don't even know, 10 years. It's been a long time since there's been a dominant team.
This offense is arguably the best offense of any generation, really, based off of what they can do. But you go back to the Villanova team of a couple years ago. You go back to the John Wall-led Kentucky teams, and GU would stack right up with those teams as far as their offensive potential. And their defense is coming around. They have the playmakers. They have the length, the speed, the athleticism to contend with top teams, which is something that the Zags of past haven't really been able to say because of the fact that they weren't getting the top recruits, but now they are. And you're seeing it happen. You're seeing it culminate together with a combination of guys like Jalen Suggs, who's a top prospect, and then a guy like Corey Kispert, who's taken 4 years to become a top prospect. He's showing up in first-round mock drafts right now, like almost top 15. He's almost a lottery pick, which is crazy for a guy who's going to be almost 25 by the time the draft comes around, which is so old. in
usually
basketball.
GMs don't like spending draft picks and lottery picks specifically on guys that were four-year college players. They don't like the 23, 24, 25-year-olds.
Not at all. And I think the reason why he's being considered for that is because he doesn't rely on his athleticism. He doesn't rely on, he's a shooter first and foremost, and shooting stays with you usually pretty far into your career.
Right.
That's not something that you end up losing. He doesn't rely on his quickness or, like I said, his athleticism or his top speed. Like all he needs to do is shoot. And so that's all, that's awesome to see. But they have 3 guys. They have, of their starting lineup, 4 of which could be first-round draft picks. Suggs is a lock. Timmy's a possibility. Kispert is looking more and more like a lock. Ayayi is looking more and more like a lock because of the fact that he does it all. I mean, he's had a double-double in like 3 straight games. But this team is the most balanced, athletic. Literally everything. This has everything that past Zag teams have not had, and it's been very special to watch. And I think this year we're going to see something special happen from them. And it's going to be awesome, too, because you're going to get the Kentuckys, the Dukes, the North Carolinas, who are going to be like, this is just such a tough season for us.
I know.
It's such a tough season. We came in with no expectations, and congrats to the Zags. They were able to put it together. And
it's kind of like when the SEC doesn't get into the college football playoff, and then they play whichever bowl game that they're placed into, and then they get the crap kicked out of them, like Florida just did against Oklahoma, and they're like, well, nobody really wanted to be there. It's like, shut the hell up. Stop talking. But, okay, so everything you just described, absolutely true. On point. It's been incredible to watch. There is, aside from a couple of games early, there's a general sense of ease watching these games.
Yeah.
You don't really have to get too stressed out unless somebody's rolling an ankle or tearing their Achilles. But with all of that being said, if there were to be a potential downfall or shortcoming of this team when they get into the tournament and when they get into stiffer competition week after week, can you even see anything? Could you ascertain any sort of
It's tough because they can outscore everybody. So let's say they have a down defensive day. I don't really see that being an issue. I mean, you saw it. They've put up 100-plus points on Kansas, and that's the thing where their defense didn't look great against Kansas, and they still won pretty comfortably. I never thought once during that Kansas game, like, we're in trouble. And probably the only thing outside of an injury, because that's nobody wants to think about that possibility. Outside of an injury happening, because I really don't see anything, because their shooting percentage inside of the arc is one of the top in the country, and I think actually top historically as far as their 2-point conversion percentage. And so they don't rely on the 3-point ball, and they're still putting up 90-plus points a game. And I think that's the biggest thing is so many teams rely on that 3-pointer to get them over that hump. And 3-point shooting isn't as consistent and has such a variable to it. And so, no, I don't really see the Zags having too many problems. I mean, I pick them to win it all like I do every year in my brackets, usually every year. But this time, I actually feel good about it. I actually feel there's not a team in the country that can compete outside of Baylor.
And you probably would have felt pretty good about saying the same thing last year, too. But unfortunately, we didn't actually get to see that play out with everything getting
GU
canceled.
was definitely one of the top 3 teams last year. And this year, they were far and away the best team, again, outside of Baylor. And that's literally it. And I still think the Zags match up with Baylor pretty darn well.
Okay, and so my next and last question about this Zags team, and this is kind of contradictory because obviously they have a bevy of options offensively, and so many, the rotations are great. They have so many guys that can score and go off on a given night, as we've already seen throughout the course of the season. But who is the key player for them? Who is the guy?
I think it's Suggs, actually.
You think so?
I think so, because we saw when he went down, you lost a little bit of energy. Like what was it? I think it was 2 games ago when he dove into the scorers table. Like he's a freshman who's a stud, a lock top 5 pick, and he was diving over the scorers table. Like you don't see that kind of hustle from top. LeBron, and I know it's an age thing, but LeBron doesn't do that. Now LeBron hustles, but I don't think he would jump over a scorers table even in his prime, unless the game was on the line. But this wasn't a WCC game.
Fair.
Now, I'm not saying like he wouldn't do it in the national championship game. Anybody would do it in the national championship game. But he did this against a inferior. I don't think it was a WCC game. It was a non-conference game against like Dixie State, actually.
Oh, that was something.
And so, like, that's what I mean.
Was a school.
Is Jalen Suggs provides this energy as a former football player too. Like he will literally go nose to nose with anybody, and he is an amazing distributor, a hustling machine, and probably their quickest player. And Corey Kispert is the leader on that team, but I think Jalen Suggs is the biggest key to this basketball team as far as he doesn't even need to put up points. Like he's averaging, he leads the team in assists. He's like 4th in their scoring, but he's a guy who can knock down 25 points one day and have 6 the next day and still be the most important player on that court.
Is it safe to say that anything short of a national championship is a bust for this team?
Far and away. Yeah, I'll be very upset if they don't win. It's so hard because the college basketball tournament is so different. Like college football, the playoffs help, but college football, coming into the season, it's Alabama. Nobody ever thinks anything otherwise than Alabama's going to come through. And even when they don't win, it's still like, all right, they'll win it next year. Like it is what it is. Nick Saban will just add to his total. So I think they will win it. Most analysts and sports media are picking them to win, and it's not a surprise. But I'm really excited to see what they can do moving forward, as well as just seeing what sort of statistical, historical team that they can produce. Because they're well on their way to being a special, generational team that people remember, like that Kentucky team, like that Villanova team, like the North Carolinas of the mid to late 2000s. And GU is on the stretch. The craziest stat I've seen, actually, during this entire stretch, the last thing I'll mention. So since Mark Few took over, so for the last 20 years, GU has played 66 ranked non-conference opponents in 20 years. That is second most in college basketball in that span, only behind Kentucky. That's so I knew GU played guys. If you're a GU fan, you know that they play guys. But that stat to me revealed that the people who say the Zags don't play anybody as complete and utter morons.
I haven't heard anybody say that in a long time. Obviously, you're a lot more plugged into those conversations than I am. But
I just see
people still say that? Is that actually a conversation?
Oh, it's all over Twitter. It's brutal.
Oh.
If you read the comments on the upper echelon sports professionals talking about the Zags, you go through the comments, they haven't played anyone. They haven't won a national championship. They play in the WCC. They exit the tournament early every single year. And it's literally consistent. And half of it's probably trolling. The other half are probably just uneducated college basketball fans.
Fair.
So that's the way it goes. But that's all right. Zags are going to make special moves. We'll continue to talk about them as the season progresses. They play tonight, actually, against BYU at 5:30 in the Kennel on ESPN. That should be fun.
Okay, just hold on.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I have a couple stories that would have helped me being there. But I might be able to actually get into a game next week.
That would be pretty sick.
Which would be nice.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I've missed having the ability to actually see games live. There's no access to the players though, unfortunately. Still, it's still locked down in that regard. But it would be interesting to kind of experience that.
Does BYU currently have a short white guy who outplays his size,
who came off of his mission trip?
Yeah,
I don't know who's on their team this year. Actually,
I don't care to find out. I just wanted to know off the top of the head: is there like a Tyler Haws or a Fredette?
I hope not, because the Haws brothers have been the most frustrating pair of brothers I think I've ever had to root against. Oh, good. I'm glad I clicked on BYU roster and it's not there. No, but they definitely probably have a few mission kids. It would not surprise me. There's an Averette. That's close to Fredette.
Sick.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, Jesse Wade, the former Zag, actually is still with them.
Oh, yeah.
Matt Harms, who's the 7'3", big guy who's always a pain. Those are probably the two big ones to look out for.
Okay.
But yeah, that is tonight. COVID's actually kind of wreaked havoc on the WCC schedule. So far, the Zags haven't been affected, but we'll keep an eye on that. We'll see what happens.
Sounds good.
All right, sticking in the basketball vein, some other news that happened this weekend, or actually I think just a few days ago, there's a chance that the NBA expands. The expansion talks are growing when the NBA circles because of the fact that the NBA lost so much money last year.
I was going to say, this has only been expedited by
literally,
the pandemic.
This has been
for
the best
money
result.
purposes.
This has literally been the best result of the COVID-19 pandemic is the NBA losing money because they want $2.5 billion per expansion team, which would be, I think, like almost the record for the most expensive expansion team ever purchased. The two top locations are Seattle and Las Vegas, it appears.
Dude, screw Las Vegas. Let's put it back in Vancouver.
I don't know why Vegas hasn't had teams, though, outside of, they just got the Raiders. They didn't have an NHL team. So now they're looking at getting an NFL. They have an NFL team. They have an NHL team. They're looking at getting an NBA team. Like,
they have a WNBA team already.
They do, and a decent one at that, I think.
Yeah.
So, good on Vegas for really taking advantage of it. Vegas needs it, though. I don't know how true this is, but I was talking to a cab driver in Vegas earlier this year.
Nice. Before
everything got crazy. And he said that Vegas lost like 1% of its total revenue over like each year over the past 10 years. Like they've lost 10% in 10 years. He literally said this, I'm not making this up. He said the Asian community, which was so prevalent in Vegas for a long time, is all going to Reno. They're gambling in Reno because it's not crazy and full of people on bachelor and bachelorette parties.
Nice.
But it's literally just gambling, and they can focus on that. So good on Vegas for finding other avenues because I guess they're going more towards shows and entertainment more so than focusing on just the gambling aspect.
I'm really surprised that James Harden's contributions to the clubs down there haven't supplemented that loss.
That loss, you'd think. I know Harden's a big club guy.
Okay, but could you imagine if – okay, so this is a prime opportunity, obviously, for Seattle Supersonics to come back into the fold and onto the NBA scene like they rightfully should. Could you imagine if the NBA looked at these two expansion teams and the locations that they were considering and were like, actually, let's forego Seattle. Like, could you imagine
if the NBA,
all the hell that would break out?
If I'm telling you right now, if the NBA expands to 32 teams and the Seattle Supersonics are not one of those teams,
what are you going to do? Stop watching?
I would storm the NBA commissioner's office, and demand how can I phrase this?
Easy. Easy.
And demand that Seattle become one of the expansion teams to make it the PG version of it. But really, though, that would be absolutely heartbreaking and so destructive.
It will not happen.
If the rest of the NBA, I don't think will let that happen. I think the owners realized that Seattle was absolutely just blasted. I think they wouldn't let that happen. I mean,
no, they won't.
What's crazy, and Mark Cuban has been kind of back and forth for me as far as how I like him. He was the only one who voted no to the sale the moving of Seattle to Oklahoma City. So that always will keep me on Cuban's good side, or keep Cuban on my good side. But my thinking is, so the NBA is the only major sports group. Wow, I can't even think of the right word there. Is the only major. So the NFL and
sports
MLB league. Couldn't think of the word league. NBA is the only one outside of MLB and NFL to not have 32 teams. They will now have 32 if this expansion does happen. Do you think that's good or bad for the product?
I don't know. I hadn't given that a ton of thought. I don't think it waters it down tremendously. I mean, I've also, since I've been watching sports, I haven't really seen, or at least between the NFL and the NBA and the MLB, seen an expansion and kind of, been able to watch and observe the effects on the product as a whole.
Yep.
So I'm not really sure. I'd be curious to see, but I wouldn't think so. What are your initial thoughts?
That's going to be probably the biggest sticking point to expansion, because I think that's what Silver has talked about so much is weakening the product that gets on the court. I'd argue that, one, the super teams have plenty of room to be able to be dispersed, which actually might be an argument for it, that maybe there'll be less super teams. I don't know. So, you could argue maybe there's better product. But also, if their most important factor in this entire situation is to increase revenue, this is the best way to do it.
Yeah. It is.
And I think it'll happen. I'm leaning toward it'll happen. Because Seattle has willing buyers right now, and Vegas obviously is going to have plenty if they decide to do that. And the $2.5 billion mark is not an issue at all, which is kind of crazy. Like literally, like, oh yeah, $2.5 billion.
Yeah,
don't care. Doesn't worry me. No, I think you could argue that it might be better for the product. Actually, I don't think it would water it down too much either.
Yeah, let's break up Brooklyn and let's get Kyrie to Seattle, huh? Could you imagine if Kevin Durant went to Seattle, though, like awesome. Full circle?
Actually,
that would be cool.
But if Kyrie Irving plays for the Seattle SuperSonics, I would storm the commissioner's
office. I will remain a Boston Celtics fan.
I would storm the commissioner's office and demand he leave, demand he get kicked out of the NBA.
God, that guy sucks.
Speaking of Kyrie real quick, it's amazing how many people, like, he'll say something, and people are like, oh, my God, like, Kyrie is just so thoughtful and, like, so woke and just has these awesome ideas. And it's like, do you look at 99.9% of the other things this guy says? Like, he's become, for whatever reason, the spokesperson and face of the movements that are happening within the NBA, and I don't know why. Because there's plenty of better ambassadors in the league than Kyrie Irving.
I know.
And yet he's given so much headline space and airtime for whatever reason. And for that,
let's not give him more.
Not give him any
We're
more
going to move on.
We're going to move on to just the general NBA storylines, I think.
Dude, yeah.
It's been a weird season.
It's back, yeah, and we haven't had a chance to talk about it since we've last done a show either.
Not at all, and it's crazy because it seems like the finals just happened yesterday.
No, they really did, and that's evident because a lot of the results that have happened so far have just been bizarre.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing that you can really compare this season to was the last lockout season that the NBA had, which at the beginning of the season also saw some, kind of upside down results. I mean, we see teams that are okay. So like the Knicks have a winning record, their best start since the 2012-13 season, and they made the playoffs that season with Melo. The Hawks they've come back down to earth. They're 500, but they were playing well, especially out of the gate. Trae Young is the new James Harden in terms of manipulating the refs, so that's absolutely obnoxious seeing him get to the free throw line like 18 times a game. Good on you, Trae. Maybe is he balding? Is that why we can see his scalp, or is that just naturally his hair?
Keep talking, and I'll look him up right now.
Anyway, not important. The Magic are playing really well, and Markelle Fultz was almost justifying the extension that he got, but he just tore his ACL, so that's too bad.
That blows. That's a tough break for a kid who's had a terrible NBA
And the Thunder have been sneaky competitive for having, on paper, perhaps the worst roster in the NBA, the Thunder. Yeah.
I was looking up the baldness.
But
yeah, probably.
Then on the flip side of that, you have teams that are seemingly hungover. The Mavs not playing exactly up to expectations. Rick Carlisle came out and was talking about Luka Doncic's weight because he is obviously overweight. He's looking like the Pillsbury Doughboy.
He does look kind of big.
But so what Carlisle mentioned was that Luka, in terms of his off-season training and program and routine, he thought that the season was going to start in January. And his teammate, Kristaps Porzingis, also thought that. So his surgery, he put that off instead of doing it, right after he got injured. So that's going to take a toll on the team. Yeah. But like the Nuggets as well, they're sitting there. I believe they're 3-4 in the West, but they lost to the Kings twice.
The Blazers are sitting at 3-4 too.
Yeah, man, I don't know about the Blazers. I don't know.
They didn't really lose anybody. I mean, they lost a couple pieces, but they gained a couple pieces.
Not really. I don't. Some of these teams, they just look like they're hungover, and I would get it for the Nuggets, who won 2 consecutive series while trailing 3-1. I mean, they had an emotional,
a very physically and emotionally draining NBA playoffs.
Yeah, and the Heat, obviously, they got all the way to the finals. They're 3-4. They just lost last night to Boston. What up? And the Wizards, okay, so the Wizards, nobody thought that the Wizards were going to be great, but after the acquisition of Russell Westbrook, having 2 top 30 players in your starting 5, especially in the East, should at least guarantee you an 8 seed.
A couple of young guys that should be contributing to a team that's better than 2-6.
Yeah, the rookie that they drafted, Avgia, he doesn't have like a super sexy stat line every night. He doesn't score a lot, but you see him moving with the ball. I mean, he's one of those guys. He's one of those European players. He just already knows where to be, how to play, the passes to make, the reads to make, the rotations to make. I mean, he's just one of those guys. So he's kind of played well for them, and obviously Rui hasn't done much.
We had pink eye.
Will he ever? Yeah, this is like 2 years in a row starting off with some sort of infection to start the season.
I don't know what his deal is, what he's doing in the offseason, but he's got to stop it.
Yeah, Rui, you need a better immune system.
So what's also surprising to me is the Grizzlies at 2-5.
Okay, they lost John Morant. I feel like they should just punt on the season already.
When did they lose him? Did they lose him like in game 3 or something?
Game 3 or 4. It's been at least a week and a half since he's been injured, which would lend itself.
By the way,
to
Trae Young is definitely
games.
balding. Look at that. This is from last year. Like, look at his hair's so thin.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway,
I like talking about players balding. Like Tyler Lockett's balding.
No, yeah. I know.
LeBron's been balding his entire life.
Yeah, that's true. He came out of the womb balding. Yeah, that's true.
What happened with John Morant's ankle? What did it end up being? I never saw what the update was as far as his MRI.
I don't know, but it's like at least 4 to 6 weeks. I mean, he's going to be out for a while, and the amount of games that he's going to miss, given their record and what it is already,
it's gonna be tough.
Do you punt on the season so that you can get back or increase your chances of getting back to the top of the lottery again?
3 weeks.
Because this is... Boy, I don't know. Like, did you see it? It
looked
gnarly.
bad. Yeah, it was pretty gnarly. And he immediately, you couldn't even walk off the court. It could be 5 weeks, though, as well. 3 to 5 is what it looks like, actually. And you don't want to rush a guy like that back who relies so much on his jumping ability when he has a lower body injury like that. No, the NBA, to me, so far, and I've talked with a couple buddies about this, I struggle watching the NBA regular season. I just think the quality of basketball compared to even college basketball is so much lower in the NBA because of the fact that in the NBA they don't run sets rarely. Mm-hmm. Like it's literally just, all for one.
Well, and another thing that used to be cool about the NBA playoffs that is kind of falling out of favor is like within these 7-game series, you could see the strategy, you could see the chess moves game to game. But now you can really just chalk it up to whoever's hotter from 3 that night.
Unfortunately,
which isn't really there's no sort of strategy or tact involved on a night-to-night basis. So that's kind of sad. I understand what you're saying. The thing that stands out to me every time, and maybe I just like bitching about the refs, but oh my God, I cannot stand the way that the NBA is officiated. Yep. Like I was talking about the Trae Young thing. There were some fouls that were called against Boston last night on Bam Adebayo, and I'm like, what are we doing? What are we watching? And
I would like to be able to sit an NBA referee down and just say, like, when you go home after a game, like, are you thinking to yourself, like, I can't believe I'm having to make these calls? Or, like, are they calling them because they think that they're actually fouls?
I don't know.
Because one thing that I saw in the Zags game against San Francisco, they called an offensive player for sticking his leg out on a 3. And,
I did see that.
Like, that was awesome. I even tweeted about it. And I said, like, this needs to happen more often. And I didn't mention this part, but it needs to happen at the NBA level.
I think it's getting to the point, at least the people that I listen to and I read are all talking about it very consistently. So I would think it's got to get to a point. And Adam Silver, I mean, is he the best commissioner of all time? I mean, I don't know how people felt about Tagliabue, but it's definitely not Goodell. It's definitely not Rob Manfred, and it wasn't Bud Selig either.
And he's 10 billion times better than David Stern.
Right. Well, David Stern did a lot for the
David
game,
Stern can honestly I'm speaking. I don't want to speak ill of the dead. He is the reason why I don't have a basketball team.
That is correct.
NBA team. So yeah, David Stern can. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Yes, I'm sure he will do just that.
Just that.
But anyway, yeah. So I gotta think that there is going to come a turning point, and Adam Silver looks at this and looks at just the quality
reckoning,
and the flow of the game too. And I think eventually it's going to change. I think it's going to be later rather than sooner, unfortunately, just the way that these things end up playing out. It'll probably, maybe like next season, they'll start changing things. But Tatum and Brown, co-MVPs right now, calling it. Same team. They're going to break history. They're going to make history together.
Hey, they're 6-3. Celtics aren't in a bad spot.
No, they're not. And they don't have Kemba, so they don't have that third scoring option. It's really just been whoever you hope to get off the bench. It's been Pritchard some nights. Jeff Teague, while he was healthy, had a couple of good games. Sometimes you get double figures from Tice. I like him.
I want to mention real quick, Domantas Sabonis is absolutely slaying the rest of the league.
Tearing it up.
I love it.
Absolutely tearing it up. What's really cool is that it seems that Indiana has like hunkered down and accepted the fact that Oladipo is not the guy. He's not the go-to guy. He's not the number one on the team. It is Sabonis. It's just weird because, being a larger player and, playing a power forward position rather than wing
playing
or guard.
And he's not a face-up 4 or face-up 5. Like he doesn't have really the range. He has mid-range, which is important, but he's not a three-point shooter. He attempts I mean, he makes 1 out of 2 a game this year, so I mean that at least keeps people honest.
And that play that they drew up for him against Boston when he hit the game winner, that was absolutely heartbreaking, but it was beautiful. It was like exactly what you want and how you should be utilizing him. And yeah, no, he's been on tear this season. He's been a monster. It's been awesome.
Yeah, he has. I've really liked watching him. I mean, he's averaging a double-double. I always thought that Sabonis leaving college would fit in the NBA. Because he was, even when he first came to GU, his footwork was impeccable. His knowledge and his dad was in the NBA, and his dad was a very good NBA player. But Sabonis is learning how to pass, which is really important. He's learning how to be more consistent from mid to even. I mean, if you can attempt 2 threes a game and make one of them, the amount of difference that makes than just being a complete non-factor is huge.
Well, I think it's what he's seeing and what he's diagnosing, because when he was with Oklahoma City, obviously he was not anything close to what he's become, but it was more just the decision making, knowing what he wanted to do with the ball, where to be on the floor. So yeah, just things that have come, with experience in games played at the NBA level.
Yeah.
Just a couple more things just to touch on. Paul George is playing like an all-star. Who would have thought? That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Phoenix has been fun. Obviously, with the acquisition for Chris Paul, they were going to be a playoff team in the West, but he's really unlocked, and he's not even putting up big numbers, but his veteran prowess and understing of the game, I mean,
adds a lot to any team he goes to.
And their bench is pretty good. Cam Payne and Cam Johnson, everybody, was ripping that Cam Johnson pick last year in the draft, and that's worked out really well. And they've been giving him numbers off the bench, and that Phoenix team is fun. Like, Ayton still, again, not scoring a ton of points. But, I don't know. It just seems like for a very young budding and promising team, Chris Paul has so far been the perfect fit to unlock, to encourage, and just stabilize those young guys.
Yeah, no, I like it.
Yeah, I like it too. And then the Lakers are still going to win the championship.
Yeah, Lakers will win it.
Yep.
I don't think anybody's really going to argue that. They just have the playmakers. LeBron is not playing as much at the moment, but that doesn't matter. They're still winning, and he'll play in the playoffs, and they'll win again.
Yep.
All right.
So that's NBA.
That's NBA. Before we get to some NFL, I have one of my other favorite sponsors to talk about. You remember them?
I think so.
Lake City Hauling.
Better remind me.
From good old Lake City, Idaho. Are you working on a remodeling or a cleanup project? Let Lake City Hauling help. Save yourself a stressful trip to the dump by letting them haul the small and big items for you. They will remove it all. They will take your unwanted trash, branches, yard waste, furniture, appliances, pretty much anything else that you have sitting around your house that you want hauled away. They'll do it. And they'll do it with a big old smile on their face, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so sure of it. They offer same-day pickup, and check out their reviews on Google and see why customers continue to go back to the 5-star rated Lake City Hauling. They offer junk removal, dumpster rentals, and demolition in the Kootenai County area. If you live outside of that area, do not fret. Give them a call or check out their website and see what they can do for you. Keep them in mind for your next demolition project. Again, their number is 208-425-4130, or check them out here on their website at lakecityhauling.com. They are so good at hauling.
Really good.
They probably are the best in the region. It would not surprise me. Because they
People
do haul
have
it all.
argued, yeah.
They haul it all, and they just do it so fast.
So fast.
So fast. All right. NFL. Playoffs. Playoffs?
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
Playoffs?
Playoffs? All right. We have a couple storylines we want to touch on before we get into some of the playoff talk. First off.
Do we?
Yeah, we do.
Shit.
Jalen Hurts getting benched.
Oh, my God.
Getting benched against the Washington football team late in the game. Doug Peterson came under fire for that move. Giants missed the playoffs because the Eagles didn't beat Washington, which no one expected Washington to lose, so I don't know why the Giants were so upset. Thoughts?
Okay, so I experienced this game slightly differently than everybody else did, but ultimately the same WTF question marks were, written above my head if I were a cartoon character. I fell asleep in the third quarter and woke up in the fourth, and I was like, what happened?
Yeah.
This was a game. The Eagles, Washington was dying to get that game away. They were not playing well at all. They could not move the ball, And they were begging for it. They were begging to get bounced. And I don't like Jalen wasn't passing the ball well. I think he was like 7 for 20. But
he had 72 yards passing.
All you needed was his legs anyway.
He wasn't even really
that
running
was
all that much,
proving
was
to
he?
be enough against Washington. Which, man, it's just awful. And I guess a couple of defensive players had to be held back from like going at Doug Peterson on the sideline during the game.
See, the problem with that though is there was reports before the game that Nate Sudfeld would get action, and it happened.
Oh, were there?
Yeah.
Which is also stupid because why? If you're looking to evaluate people going into the next season, you don't need to evaluate or see what Nate Sudfeld has.
Jalen Hurts.
You know what he has, and it's nothing. You give Jalen Hurts all the reps, all the snaps, all the looks that you can get from him to take into consideration going into next season.
Jalen Hurts' total yardage, both passing and rushing through 3 quarters, was 104 yards, though.
It was they were in the game.
I mean, they lost.
They were in
exactly. They were in the game, but they were going to be in the game with Hurts or Sudfeld.
No.
Why not? They lost by less than a touchdown.
Yeah, but Sudfeld, when he was put in, removed the possibility of them winning the game.
I don't think that's true, though.
Oh my God, are you serious?
They won with Carson Wentz, and Carson Wentz was trash all season.
Okay,
Like they were going to lose either way. Is the point I was making.
His trash and level of just baseline competence or incompetence, I guess, is still greater than that of Nate Sudfeld.
The ceiling might be higher, but you could argue that the floor is probably about the same.
Okay, yeah, and it's hard because the body and the sample size for Carson Wentz just being absolutely garbage at playing quarterback this season was huge. But Nate Sudfeld, dude, as soon as he got put in the game, he's like, holy shit.
But it's not.
What am I doing here?
But it happened multiple times with Tua in Miami, and
yeah.
Brian Flores is being looked at as a potential Coach of the Year candidate.
Okay, Nate Sudfeld is not Tua. He does not have the ceiling. He does not have the investment.
Well, no.
He does not
I'm comparing like Ryan Fitzpatrick to Nate Sudfeld, both of which do not have a future in this NFL.
Ryan Fitzpatrick made that offense move. Ryan Fitzpatrick won them games when Tua couldn't.
Ryan Fitzpatrick, only reason he won games is because he's a gunslinger.
Exactly.
And he has
needed
magic.
to move the ball,
he has
and
magic.
Tua wouldn't do anything except throw 5 yards down the field.
I don't think it's as big of a deal as people were making out to be. Like Giants players came out and said, this is why we hate the Eagles. People were saying that they tossed the game. The only thing that they gained 3 picks. They went from number 6 to number 3.
Wasn't it 9-6?
9-6, right.
There you go. Okay, timeout. First of all, I don't want to hear anything for the Giants because, hey, guess what? Win more than 6 games. If you would have
that
been
was pretty
7-9,
bad. That was
you would have won.
Terrible look.
I would be frustrated if I were a Giants fan. However, for the players and for the squad and Joe Judge, I don't want to hear any bitching or bickering because you were in the driver's seat for most of the season when nobody wanted to win the division and you decided you didn't want to. Thanks for beating Seattle. And on that front, no, I don't want to hear it. But for the first time, I think it was just the most appalling thing was that as clear as day on national television, an NFL team quit.
I don't think so.
Oh, my God. What do you mean?
Look, so Jason Kelsey, who's the center for the Eagles, probably their biggest, their most famous player right now outside of Wentz. He's the backbone of that team, captain, everything. He said, at no point was anything from me or anyone else confrontational. We all knew leading into the game that Sudfeld was told to be ready to play and that Doug wanted to see what he could do in a game situation. I understand the optics of how it looked, and I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little surprised given the circumstances that the move happened when it did. Thanks, Ad, for popping up right in front. But every one of us did our best, and all of us believe we can win with Nate Sudfeld. Yeah, he spelled his name twice. That's weird. Wrong. But, I mean, it's obvious that they were expecting it to happen at one point.
I guess.
I think the national media had a storyline that they thought was a possibility and jumped on it and pushed and made apparent and said this is but then you saw some other NFL players who came in like this was the first opportunity I've ever seen a team actually take, and it's like that's wrong because I saw the Jets do it 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, okay, but the difference is okay, so this is the thing. Organizations tank, coaches and players do not. especially at the professional level, everything that you have to put your body through, everything that you had to sacrifice and dedicate all season long, the guys that go out there and actually play on the field, they're not like, oh, we're going to let up this
They're not
touchdown.
shaving points. That's not a real thing.
And they have pride, even if their team sucks and ultimately isn't going anywhere. Also, they're playing for jobs.
Yeah, playing for money.
They're playing for jobs and security. And, just the fact that they could get, released, cut, and traded at any time.
But so is Doug Peterson. So are coaching staffs.
Okay. Yes. Understood. However, the fact that, even if they were planning to give Nate some snaps, some touches going into the game, fine, sure, whatever. However, once you get into the game and see how the flow of the game and the fact that you were in the game, it would be different if they were getting blown out at halftime or even into the third quarter. They were not. Washington was giving them opportunity after opportunity. It was a punt fest.
Maybe they thought that they could win with Sudfeld.
They did not, and if they did, then that
but if
alone
if we're
should
gonna,
be enough
if
to
we're
fire.
Gonna, if we're going to take the argument that players and coaches don't actually tank because like their job's on the line, why would they do this then?
That is the question. That's the question.
That's what I mean. Is I think people are saying that they tanked when in fact it was just a questionable move in an interesting situation.
I don't know. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
The only thing I want to say on the subject is Doug Peterson consistently looks like he's just trying to be force-fed water chestnuts. Like he has that look on his face. Literally, the camera goes over the side and he just kind of he has this kind of like it's not like a bad look.
There is nothing more than I hate than a guy with hair parted down the middle that rocks a visor.
So maybe he's not being force-fed these water chestnuts. He's a guy who eats water chestnuts out of a can and just enjoys the hell out of it.
Probably. I don't know.
Just some nice crunchy
Peterson.
water chestnuts.
Also, the fact that Peterson is with a D, that's another
thing. That's also very frustrating. All right, so Seahawks are in the playoffs. Again, that's awesome. I love me some Seahawks playoff football.
Great, we got a really low ceiling, just like the last 7 years that we've been in the playoffs.
Unfortunately, they play the Rams, which always sucks. I hate playing divisional opponents in the playoffs, especially this early.
The Rams consistently have our number,
they frustrate us.
Just like the prospect of us twice within a 3-week period beating them, I don't like it.
We are at home. Rams are technically a little beat up in the fact that Goff may or may not play. Nobody really knows. But a couple storylines that I do, actually just one storyline at the moment that I do want to talk about real quick because it regards last week's game. A lot of people were confused at the end of the game when there was a little touch pass that Russell Wilson threw to David Moore when they should have been taking a knee because that's a safe play in that situation and they would have won the game. But the reason why they did that is because David Moore came into the game with 34 catches. He needed 35 for a roster bonus incentive to kick in to make him another $100,000, which if I needed to catch a football and make $100,000, I don't think I could do that in the NFL. But they made it really easy for him. They talked about it on the sideline. They got it done. That's awesome. I think that's – I don't want to say like Seattle's really cool for doing that because Brady did that for Antonio Brown.
I was going to say that happened actually
it happened a few times.
On the league, almost more than I feel
usual.
Like. Yeah.
Because it definitely happens every year, but it happened a lot. But that was pretty cool. And they went into the playoffs on a decently high note, I think, from that game. I guess
that was
fourth quarter,
really ugly. That was really ugly.
The last few drives combined, I think, gave them momentum. Not the game itself, but if they look at something leading into, it would be the fact that they were able to score a couple touchdowns. The defense gave up a couple touchdowns, but one of them was a garbage time with 30 seconds left. So I'm not going to really look too much on that. But it is going to be, you're right, the Rams are a tough opponent for Seattle because specifically of that defense. The offense didn't even look all that good against the Seahawks in their first matchup, and so I'm not as worried about the Rams offensively as I am defensively this time.
Yeah, no, and I think especially in that Week 16 matchup against them, that was the best that any Seahawks defense has done against a Sean McVay offense since McVay got there. They absolutely just stifled them and sniffed out everything.
The linebackers killed it. The linebackers are the most important facet of any defense playing a Rams offense.
Definitely. I am terrified because I don't feel confident in Russell. He's just not making decisions, and he more so than I've ever seen in his career, he is missing throws. He's just been inaccurate. He has not been he's throwing a lot of ducks too. Like, I know if the ball gets there, it gets there. But he's throwing wobblers and just passes that it looks weird. It looks off when it's released from his hand. It's not something that we're accustomed to seeing from him because accuracy, is kind of one of his benchmarks as a quarterback. And I'm nervous about it. Obviously, they're going to lock up DK. DK doesn't catch balls really well anyway, as he displayed against San Francisco.
He had his one big drop a game.
Dude, his
Easy
hands
drop.
are just cinder blocks, man. They're not good.
Okay, I think they're fine. I think his hands are fine. He just has one play a game that's just like, dude, DK. Like, if you want to be a top wide receiver,
but again,
you gotta
it's
make
like
those
every
catches.
time he catches it, he's
It's a little
catching it
clunky.
2 or 3 times.
It's a little clunky.
Yeah, it's never clean. I don't know. I'm stressed out. Like, I actually I feel better if Goff plays just because of how poorly he looked in his last outing. And anytime a quarterback's coming off a thumb surgery, a week and a half after.
He looked bad
and
after
going
that
back
injury happened.
into a playoff game, that just doesn't seem like it has a very good chance of working. And that Wolford guy, man,
he has more legs. Yeah, he has more legs than Goff does. Yeah, I'm definitely a little worried. I think Seattle, their defense should still be healthy. I think.
I mean, it's going to be all about Adams. I mean, it sounds like he's going to play, but he's got 2 banged up shoulders and 2 broken fingers.
Yeah.
So I mean,
and
kudos to
a
you
groin
and
injury that he's probably still trying to make sure doesn't happen. Because those things like to stick around. So.
It looks like Jaron Reed got out a little bit better post game for that oblique strain than what it looked like when he
first happened.
Yeah, walking off the field.
Yeah, no, I think, and then the offense is healthy. I think the big important factor is getting Shell back at right tackle. When he's been in, that offense looks better.
Well, when they've had all 5 starters who have only played together and started 5 games this season, they're
early.
5-0. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was early when all 5 of them
and
were going.
I'll be honest, like, I think Jordan Simmons, like, there isn't a bunch of drop-off when he comes in for Upati. I don't think Upati's been that great. It's not like he's the 49er Upati of the early 2000s,
pulling and just whacking our linebackers every single time. Yeah.
But anyway, there hasn't been a ton of drop-off. Obviously, Ogbui, like, is not great.
It's the right tackle spot.
Right
that's the weakness when it comes to the next players behind him.
And we'll see if Shell's rusty. I mean, he hasn't played in weeks.
No, and luckily, no, because Leonard Floyd comes off the edge. I think that'll be the most important factor for the Seahawks. I think Wilson has been timid. I think he's been afraid to step up. Unfortunately, he
just doesn't look like
he's not comfortable.
Knows what he's looking at either,
he doesn't.
Which is so foreign.
I think what's happening, so I saw a couple things on Twitter, a couple play breakdowns. Defenses are really trying to confuse him at the line of scrimmage because what you're seeing is a single high safety look and the other safety in the box, and what happens is they end up dropping that safety to too high, or they have 2 high safeties, they drop one down, they blitz them, they cover, they double DK or they double Tyler, whatever happens.
We've been absolutely getting wrecked with the corner blitzes.
Yeah,
the last couple weeks. I mean, we have not been picking those up at all.
Well, it's really and a lot of that too comes on the right side. They comes over that right tackle spot. But Hollister did miss a block last game where it's like, dude, like I saw him creeping down the line, and Wilson even shifted him in, like literally, like brought him in to max protect. And Hollister just completely didn't see him.
The thing that I appreciate and hate about Hollister is when Russell throws to him, I know it's going to happen before the ball gets there. He's going to catch it. He's going to turn his neck upfield, and he's just going to get smacked at the knees.
And it happens consistently.
He
gets hit hard every single time.
Also, there was a bit of poetry that we didn't get a chance to talk about because we didn't have a show here. But if you go to a year ago, week 17, Hollister gets smacked right at the 1-inch line. Yep. And we lose the division, and then fast forward a year, week 16, we go to him for the division-winning touchdown. So or clinching, I guess.
Yeah.
But that was kind of a cool little moment for him.
It was.
I want to see a lot of Greg Olsen and Will Dissly. I want to get the tight ends involved.
So before every game, my buddy Josh Geiger and we give a prediction, like a score prediction, our offensive and defensive bold prediction. I kid you not, for the last probably 10 weeks of the season, he has predicted a 2-touchdown game from tight ends. Like Olsen 2 touchdowns, Dissly 2 touchdowns, Hollister. Tight ends are so, and I was telling him this in the Niners game, when they have that too high safety look, the outside the numbers throws aren't there.
Right.
What the throws that are there are the seams and the outs, because that's in between the safeties on the outs, and that's above the linebackers and in front of the safeties down the seams.
Dude,
and we cannot hit those seams for some reason. Will Dissly last year, before he got hurt, was hitting those seams consistently.
He's a freaking stud.
I don't know. I really don't know what's going on there.
I don't either. I almost wonder if Russell's just not like even considering or
I don't know if I've really
for whatever
seen
reason.
them. I don't think that they're actually running them down the seams.
Routes.
Like
Could be.
I see either A, the tight end stays to block, which makes sense for some of the blocking issues they've had, well, especially on that right side, or 2, they're either they're running running short outs,
Yep.
or they're running bootlegs.
Yep.
And I want to see tight ends actually attack that seam, because if you can do that, that forces those safeties either one to then keep an eye on those seams and open up the outside numbers, but I don't know if that's going to actually happen. But
5-0 in home playoff games with
Big.
Russell Wilson at quarterback. Let's keep that up. Do you want to talk about other matchups?
not really, I don't think.
Okay, cool.
I mean, we'll talk a little bit about them when we pick them here,
Okay.
which we'll do right now. So, updates. Last week we both went 10-6.
Yeah.
And the week before that, I went 11-5,
And I went
13-3. So if we do our math correctly, from 2 weeks ago when we last did an update, I was leading a game. Now I am down a game for the first time all season. So which is really unfortunate, because I've been killing it for 17 weeks. And this guy just swoops in and takes my lead.
Comeback
when we're
player
not
of the
even
year,
doing the show. I
not
think
Alex Smith. Andrew Tenney, rather.
I was bamboozled during the holidays. That's all I can say.
You just suck.
Nope. I'm going to take
I
advantage of
just
this.
wanted
So,
to wait 17 weeks to let you know that you suck.
well, by the end of the Super Bowl, we'll see who's winning. All right.
Yeah, we will.
What's going to be really unfortunate is when we pick all the same games the entire time.
I know, let's do it.
All right, so we start off in the morning on Saturday on CBS, 10:05 kickoff. Bills will actually be allowing fans. in the
Bills
state of
got
New York.
shafted on the. Also, yeah, good for the governor of New York
The
for
fact
actually
that
allowing that
New
to happen.
York
Bills Mafia
allows
will be out.
fans, and Seattle, Washington is like, nah. Like, if New York can do it, anybody in the whole entire country can do it.
My girlfriend just had like the.
This is the first time you've mentioned her on the show?
I don't know, but shout out. She mentioned that she just read the Safe Start plan for like reopening.
For the state of Washington?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's going to tell me about it in person, but she said that I'm going to get really mad. So
Yeah.
I'm really excited about that. But anyway.
There's like 4 categories, and Spokane County isn't reaching any of the 4 right now. And one of which is like below a 10% positivity rate, and Spokane County's been like above 16% for months.
Can't wait.
Yeah. So
Anyway,
it's not gonna
Bills
happen.
Mafia will be out. They will
Does
be
she watch our
smashing
show?
tables occasionally. If she like accidentally runs into it on YouTube while we're live.
Nice. Well, we'll see if that happens.
I think her
again.
grandma might.
Oh, nice.
Shout out.
All right. So, yeah. So, first game, yeah, like you said, in New York, Bills Mafia gets to support. Tickets right now are on ESPN's website. Tickets as low as $10,852 if you want to go see the Bills playoff game.
Is that it?
That's it. So, Colts at Buffalo. That is a semi-tough draw for them for how good they've played.
That's a frisky 7 seed for sure. Also, I feel like this should be in the prime time, or at least like the afternoon game. I feel like the Bills
Washington
kinda got
Tampa
shafted.
is such a ridiculous NBC game to have.
That's gross.
That's
It's just
so
gross.
stupid.
Anyway, give me the Bills all day. But
Yeah, Bills
I mean,
as well.
Yeah.
Unless the only
It's
reason,
hard to see a scenario unless the Bills absolutely just collapse and implode on themselves.
It would have to be the
And
offense.
Josh Allen goes back to
Josh
2018, 2019 Josh Allen.
or even last year's playoffs, Josh Allen. They were
That's
lucky to win that game.
pitching it to the tight end.
Yeah, it's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you're gonna win
but
this
the
game.
Bills are an absolute buzzsaw right now.
Yeah,
They are
they're cooking since that
smoking
Seattle game.
everybody.
Since that Seattle game, they have been on an absolute tear.
And the only person that broke it up, or the only 2 people that broke up their win streak, was DeAndre Hopkins and Kyler Murray on the Hail Murray. So they're a Hail Murray away from having like an 8-game win streak.
Which is impressive.
being
The only
14-2.
way the Bills lose this game is if Phillip Rivers goes to like 2014 Phillip Rivers and starts slinging the ball around.
And you got to think that if you're Indianapolis, obviously what you do well right now, your defense is pretty decent and you run the ball well. So let's keep the Bills
Allen
off the field.
Yeah.
So that's their recipe for success. I don't think it's ultimately going to be enough.
Nope, I agree. We'll do the Seahawks here. Seattle Rams at Seattle. Seattle gets their 1 playoff home game, and actually they might get 2 depending on who they play. But they play the Rams at 1:40 on Fox on Saturday. I'm gonna pick the Seahawks for the 17th time this year.
You've only been wrong for.
Yeah, I've only been right. See, it's not too bad. My win percentage is pretty darn good.
I'm also picking Seattle. I think they're going to find a way.
At home.
I don't know what the recipe is going to look like because it's so different from game to game. All that I know is that it's not going to be a handily won game.
It'll be
It's not going to be
very
comfortable.
frustrating
It's going
game.
to be anxious. Yes.
Then the Sunday night game, like I mentioned, Tampa at Washington. Tampa travels to Washington, which I think is not a great matchup for Tampa, actually, because Washington's defensive line could cause Brady some problems.
And that's what you always say, if you can rush for on Brady, man,
yeah, that's
watch out.
That's big. But Tampa has a lot of weapons. Mike Evans may or may not play, depending on what that hyperextended knee does. But I think Tampa still has too many weapons for Washington.
Washington's just not going to be able to move the ball.
That's the problem. Because Tampa's defense is still good, even though they're not as
anemic.
good as they were at the beginning of the season. Tampa's defense is good enough to stop
but their
Alex
offense is also a lot better than it was at the beginning of the season.
Or even in the middle.
On the flip side.
Yeah.
It's going to be the Bucs. Also, I just want to say from like an aesthetic standpoint, you know how, I don't know if you thought this, but like the Chiefs 49ers Super Bowl, too much red, too much gold, too much yellow, similar color scheme. I hate this. This is disgusting. Tampa Bay in Washington. Yeah, absolutely gross.
A lot of red and yellow.
Shout out to Riverboat Ron, overcoming cancer while simultaneously coaching an NFL team to a playoff berth with a quarterback that has a leg.
One leg, and the other leg is just dangling.
Hats off for Alex Smith, obviously going to be the comeback player of the year. It's a really cool story.
Might get the award named after him.
Yeah. They changed their damn name in the offseason and have been going by the Washington football team.
So many distractions.
I don't want them to change it. I just want them to be the Washington football team.
They're at least going to be the football team through next year.
Sick. All right.
So that's going to be crazy. All right, then on Sunday, actually, one thing I do want to point out, I am just so thankful to not have to be picking Jets and their gangrene fan base every single week. Because the Jets are bad. No, but I did look up gangrene. That stuff's gross.
It looks gnarly.
It looks super gnarly. Like, it looks like a serious case of frostbite. Like, it's black. But it happens, like, I think, pretty quick. Anyway, I just wanted to point that out, that I'm thrilled to not have to be picking the Jets to lose every single week like I did all season. Yeah, at least the playoffs, it actually gets interesting.
Yep.
It's actually kind of weird seeing the setup because of the fact that only the number one seed gets a bye. So, like, it's kind of
it is
different.
Strange.
It's definitely different. All right, then we have the second AFC matchup of the weekend. Baltimore at the Titans, 10 a.m. on ABC and ESPN. That's going to be kind of interesting, a morning ESPN game.
I think this is probably the most interesting game of the weekend. Two of the most evenly matched teams. They
that one
history.
And Cleveland-Pittsburgh.
The
AFC
each other.
matchups are better than the NFC matchups.
Yeah, Cleveland. We'll get to that. Okay, so I don't like this because I don't really like the Ravens that much. I respect the hell out of them, but I'm over the Harbaughs just in general. I'm going to go with the Ravens. I don't think that the Titans can beat the Ravens 3 times in a row over the course of a calendar year. And the Titans just have no defense. They have the worst
weird being coached by
opponent's
Mike
conversion rate. Early parts of the season, it was up at like 60-70% that they were giving up on third down, and now it's like leveled out to like 52, but that's still egregious.
Still high.
They can't stop anybody, and the Ravens are running the ball just as well as the Titans are running the ball right now. I do trust the Titans to pass the ball better than the Ravens. That is one thing that they have going for them, in my opinion. But I just think that Baltimore is kind of sick of this narrative that's been stuck to them based on their last loss in the postseason to the Tennessee Titans, and I'm not sure that the Titans have enough to get off the field on defense, honestly.
I'm going to go with the Titans.
Okay.
I think Derrick Henry is running like a man possessed, and he gets stronger as the season goes on. We've seen that.
Tractor-Cedo season.
Yeah, he's a stud. The key is keeping Lamar Jackson off the field because that offense can make plays. They haven't been explosive this year as in years past, but we haven't seen Lamar Jackson actually take a stranglehold on a playoff football game and say, "I'm here. This is my team. We're going to advance." And I just don't see it happening against the Tennessee Titans team that, while their defense might not be very impressive, is still led on both sides of the ball by veterans and by players who I think can slow down this more exciting Ravens team, I think.
The Ravens also have Justin Tucker, and
which will be very important.
Sloman.
Yeah, no, and that honestly could be the difference maker.
I mean, their special teams are so much more sound.
Yeah, I agree. So. All right, then we have the Bears at the Saints, and I would love to pick the Bears in this matchup. I think the Bears prevent a problematic matchup for the Saints because of how pedestrian the Saints' offense can be. But
that's about it.
That's literally the only reason why.
Yeah.
Because I just don't trust this Trubisky, Allen Robinson stuff that's been happening the last 4 or 5 weeks to continue against a team that is as balanced and strong from top to bottom as the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree with basically everything that you just said. I might be inclined to pick the Bears if the game were in or at Soldier Field, just because Breeze is not a good cold weather quarterback.
They're lucky that he's able to play at home at least.
That's right, for this game. I'm also going to go with the Saints. What you cited is the only reason that would give you any sort of pause for consideration of the Bears. Their defense is more than competent, and Breeze is 42, 43 years old. He's got 1,400 cracked ribs, which are not just easy to come back from just because he's deemed eligible to play. People, those last a lifetime. The pain and just the residual effects of breaking a rib, that's not something that just goes away. So, the Saints are going to win. It's a gross matchup. Nickelodeon matchup. Shout out. Vinny, you're going to be watching on Nickelodeon? Yeah, so we'll have Justin watching on, I think it is CBS is the alternative.
1:40 kickoff CBS on CBS and Nickelodeon.
So we'll be able to come back next week and report the differences between broadcasts, if there are any.
Not excited at all. All right, then we have the last playoff matchup of the weekend, 5:15 kickoff on NBC. Probably, arguably the best matchup again with that Baltimore Titans matchup. Cleveland at the Steelers.
Okay, so you're Cleveland, and you finally get back into the playoffs for the first time since 2002, and then you have a COVID outbreak, and your head coach is not available for the game, who I think should get Coach of the Year, going 11-5.
He's up there. He's up there for sure.
Discussion. Second place in the AFC North, in a very competitive AFC North, and you get the Browns to the playoffs. Dude. What else could you do?
That sucks.
No, it really does suck. And so the Browns in a must-win game at the end of the season against the Steelers' backups in Mason Rudolph, who may still be concussed from Myles Garrett whopping him over the head with a helmet. That came down to the wire.
Yeah.
If they had botched that onside kick, which they almost did, who knows what would have happened? Who knows? The Browns are screwed. The Browns are not going to win this game. And I don't even think the Steelers are particularly sexy or going in with a head of steam.
They could be a very sexy team, but
if they throw the ball down the field. But if they do these predictable routes that corners have been jumping for the last 6 weeks, where it's just 5 yards, and there's not, obviously they don't have a running game. Their defense is still really good. The Steelers are going to win. I don't see a path in which the Browns pull this thing off.
I also agree on that.
Which is depressing. Also, you get to the playoffs for the first time. Not only do you not have your head coach, but you're playing, of all people, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
That just sucks.
Yeah, it does. I don't like the Browns because I don't like Baker Mayfield or OBJ or Jarvis Landry. So I don't really care if they lose, but it does suck as a as a Browns fan or as, a fan of somebody who wants to see an underdog win, because it's not going to be the Browns this week.
I don't think so.
All right. 6 games, 6 picks, only 1 difference. So that'll be the only place for me to make up that one game.
Yep.
All eyes will be on that Baltimore-Tennessee matchup Sunday morning at 10:05.
Also, I hope Tennessee wins.
I do too. Not just for the fact I don't think Lamar Jackson is as good as people think he is. Throwing-wise, at least. All right. Final 2 segments of the day. We have Jabroni time.
Yeah.
All right. I think you're up first, big guy. What do you got for me?
So mine isn't necessarily Tony Romo himself, but it's this meme that came out. So Tony Romo was not available to do – I don't remember which game he would have been calling. They had to have Boomer Esiason fill in for him because Tony Romo came down with the cocoa, and so he was not available. And good old PFT commenter gave us this little gem because, of course, Tony Romo is affiliated with Corona, and he's got a line of Corona light beer commercials. So I just thought this was a little nice piece of innocent fun at Tony's expense.
Yeah, I agree. His commercials actually aren't too bad.
No, they're not awful.
They're actually pretty funny. I think Romo as a commentator, I actually enjoy Romo as a commentator.
It took a while for me to get used to his voice because it's not like a traditional.
No, not at all. But there still are a lot of people in the country who would like to roundhouse Romo right in the mouth.
I love Romo. I think
I like him. I also like him. All right. My jabroni is also Tony Romo, which is crazy because we did not plan this. But
no, we did not.
This happened yesterday. Would have been 15 years ago yesterday, which is crazy to think about.
Dude,
2006,
so old.
January 6th of 2006, and the Seattle Seahawks were about to go down on the Dallas Cowboys in a wildcard playoff matchup, and backup quarterback, or actually quarterback Tony Romo, was still the holder because he was the backup early on in the season. So he trots out there to hold the kick for Martin Gramatica, and one of the best sequences of all time happened.
Jordan Babineau, Lord and Savior.
Big play, Babs.
So Holmgren had to take the timeout. So Seattle is now out of timeouts. Now you have to try to take the lead here with Gramatica. In effect, a field goal the distance of an extra point. Then, with 1 minute and 19 seconds minus what this play takes, Seattle will get the ball, and all they will need is a field goal to win the game. And they've got the best clutch field goal kicker in America this year in Josh Brown. Meanwhile, here's Gramatica. Romo holds. 19-yard field goal attempt.
We get the kick Actually, we get the hold, I should say.
Romo, and then Romo's going to run to the end zone, and he's going to get tackled by Jordan Babineau.
In the sport right now, depending on how you like him.
Amazing.
Must turn into an absolute battlefield here. And it's super unfortunate because
Unbelievable.
This was a big turning point for the Cowboys. Like I said, Romo was the backup coming into the season, had to take over the starting job. And so
how crazy is this?
And this kick, if it would have gone in, would have made the game 23-21 with a minute 14 left.
There is nothing automatic in football.
Luckily, a lot of people don't remember that
the ball
Brown,
just slipped out of his hands. It was a good snap.
Look at Babineau.
He went to put it down and it just slipped.
Big play Babs. Oh, down on the run.
That my dad kept mentioning that a lot of people didn't seem to acknowledge, or at least during the broadcast, was that he was so close to getting a first down that it almost didn't matter.
I know, he was really close.
That was the thing that mattered once that play happened and he botched the snap. It was like, okay, they're not getting the field goal, obviously. However, if he gets the first down, it's game over.
The game is actually over now. Like there's no chance for Seattle to then drive down the field because they just take a knee twice and then they line up and kick the game-winning field goal. That was big. And, what's kind of cool, you saw Patrick Kearney there. You saw Kenny Hamlin. You saw Jordan Babineau, who had that tackle. Tatupu was on that. But one of the big things, Bowler should have still been there.
Julian Peterson would have been there, 59.
Leroy Hill would have been there. Marcus Trufant. I mean, literally that team was actually a pretty solid defensive team. That was the year after we got screwed in Super Bowl 40.
Nice.
Is when this game actually happened. So, 2006. Okay, yeah.
No, that's false. We lost.
We lost
the year after the Super Bowl. We lost at Soldier Field to the Robbie Gould.
Exactly. Game-winning kick. This was a Super Bowl year.
No.
Yeah.
Dude, no.
Yeah.
That was a wild card game.
Good point. So this
that was
January 2006.
How does that work?
That doesn't seem right.
That's
something's not right.
Wait, okay,
here.
so after this we went to Chicago. After this we went to Chicago and lost.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Boom.
Okay.
Figured it
so
out.
this was 2000. This would have been 2007 then.
What was 2007?
This game would have been in 2007.
Didn't you just say it was in January 2006?
I thought it was 2006, but it must have been 2007 because the Seahawks.
It was 2006 season.
2006-2007 season. Yes.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, because the Seahawks went to the Super Bowl in the 2005-2006 season.
Okay.
Guaranteed. Because my grandpa died in 2005.
Stick around if you want to hear us bicker more over
over dates.
Times
that was tough.
Seahawks playoff appearances, but I got a closing time.
Yes, I think that was it. One thing I did want to mention actually real quick was the fact that even if they made that kick, we still had Josh Brown as the kicker who had a massive leg, and I was confident in winning that football game. But I love the fact that it was the 2007 NFL playoffs. I love the fact that this clip exists because it's probably one of my favorite Seahawks highlights of all time.
Josh Brown or Stephen Hauschka?
Well, Josh Brown didn't beat his girlfriend, Stephen Hauschka didn't punch his girlfriend, so I'll probably have to go with Stephen Hauschka.
Yeah.
Josh Brown, though, was a stud.
He was incredible.
For Seattle. I remember I went to the game where Josh Brown kicked a game-winning field goal.
Against the Rams?
Yeah. Yep. I went to that game.
That same season, earlier in St. Louis, he did the same thing. It was a longer kick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the Ram killer. Can we get Josh Brown for this weekend? Actually, Jason Myers has been a stud all year.
Yeah, he
not
has
missing
been,
a kick.
just not on extra points.
All right, closing time. What do you got for me?
Okay, Alex Smith. Boom. Back in the headlines.
Back in the headlines.
I thought this was really cool. Also, just to the concept of it. So, Alex Smith's wife, I don't know how she pulled this off. I don't know if she had a team or if she hired somebody, but converted what was his leg brace into the Lombardi Trophy. And I was like, that's kind of clever. That's kind of a cool idea. I appreciate it. Shout out Alex Smith's wife.
I have two thoughts here. First, Yeah, very interesting. My second thought is, though, I think it's kind of lame.
Oh, okay.
And I'll tell you why. First off, if it's a football, that's cool. But it's a Lombardi trophy, which is like, it's meant for champions. Okay, now that sounds worse.
Yeah,
now that sounds worse.
Yeah, exactly. You don't really have a win
it's for
here.
It's for
There's
NFL.
no
it's
path
for
you to
NFL
make
champions, and Alex
yourself
Smith
seem like a
has
decent
not
person
won a
here.
Super Bowl.
Yeah, but
Nope. I like it if it's a football. I think the concept is nice. It's just Alex Smith hasn't won a Super Bowl, so
yeah, what a
there's
piece
that.
of shit. God.
What a loser. What an absolute trash loser. No, it's fine. It's whatever. All right. I have a website here that will be pulled up. Say what you want about Barstool Sports and whatever you think about them and whatever their content is and whatever you think about that. They are on track by the end of the day to raise almost $20 million for small businesses across the country. As a private organization such as Barstool Sports, who doesn't have the backing of the United States federal government that just, tosses money out willy-nilly and pretends that they can just print more, that's a great amount of money. That's a really good job. They've supported, what does that say, 87 businesses across the country who hopefully really need it. That's awesome. That's really cool to see. I think the world, specifically the United States, because that's what we can, attract, actually identify more with. I think more of this stuff needs to happen.
Yeah, New York Times was expectedly premature with Man of the Year, giving it to Joe Biden. It should be Dave Portnoy. Nobody in the country is doing this. Obviously, the government isn't doing anything like this. This is insane, and it's really cool because every time he FaceTimes, the recipient of the fund, they break down, they tell their story and how appreciative they're of that they are.
Yep.
And it's just like you get to see on their face and in their emotions how much this changes
matters.
And helps their lives, in their livelihood, and just their ability to
the best part about it too is it's not even so much like, it's just nice when businesses know, like when the federal government gives you money, it's like, thanks. But like when someone with a face and like someone with a name and like them saying, hey, for instance, Hoboken Beer and Soda Outlet, here's $15,000 to like help keep the doors open. Like that's a big deal rather than just getting a piece of paper in the mail that says, here you go, Hoboken Beer and Soda Outlet, here's money to stay open. So yeah, it looks like over almost 155,000 people have supported it. 86 businesses have been supported, or actually it's 87 because I haven't refreshed the page. 89 now, even since we were talking. So that's awesome. That's cool to see. Good on Barstool Sports to use their platform and everything that they have going for them to make a change. It'd be nice to see more businesses doing this.
And shout out to everybody, that has some sort of clout or fame or celebrity with money that also looked at this and gave to it and applied themselves to it, because a lot of people haven't. He's calling out people like Elon Musk. He's calling out
he mentions them on Twitter.
Yeah,
really
I know,
calls them out.
which I appreciate and respect. Also, 89 businesses helped support it. I mean, divide 19 million by 89. I don't know how he varies which businesses.
I think there's going to be more businesses
money,
supported because he's given 20,000 to this, 15 to that.
Okay,
I mean,
gotcha.
I think there'll be more by the time they're once they get the final total in. But yeah, I think one thing. Who just donated? Someone just donated 100,000 to it. Who was that? Did you see?
Yeah, but I can't remember.
I don't remember who that was, but it was kind of a cool thing that they stepped up to do that. So anyway, it is nice seeing people helping other people. Like I said, there should be more of this happening, more so than just direct funds being handed out by the government.
Right.
Because this comes with no strings attached, which is always nice.
Right.
And no expectations as well. So good on Barstool Sports. We'll see where that ends up happening at the end of the day. This is the last day. I know we don't have a big following compared to like some of the other people who might be mentioning the Barstool Fund, but if you are watching and you do see it, it would be awesome if you could go check it out at least. They do have merchandise that you can buy from some of these restaurants, as well as Barstool Sports gear that talk about small businesses, dream big, stuff like that. So kind of cool stuff. Go check it out. But again, good on Barstool. And yeah, that was another good show.
That was a show.
That was first of the year, first one in 2 weeks. This was the 29th show, it appears.
Wow.
We're almost at a big 30. Big old 30. So, thanks again for stopping by. We'll see you next week. I am Justin Reed alongside Andrew Tenney. We will see you next Thursday. Same time, same place, same brand new set.
Thanks for watching The Locker Room on Spokane Talks. Check us out on Facebook as well as our other platforms. We want to hear from you. Join the conversation by emailing us at info@SpokaneTalksOnline.com And for more sports news, opinions, and content, follow Justin and me on Twitter.